And we are here with our February monthly weather roundup with a bonus at the end. We are going to recap the winter that was. And oh my God, I mean, I don't know how we're going to do all this in a half hour. Somehow we're going to have to make the miracle work. New Jersey State Climatologist Dr. Dave Robinson. I mean, we're going to begin somewhere, but I don't even know where to begin with this month and this winter that we had.
Well, I'll tell you briefly, and I'll talk real fast because I'm from Jersey.
That's right. Yeah. Mile minute.
My article that I post on the State Climate website each month, which will be February followed by a winter recap. I'm kind of kiddingly calling it in the first paragraph of the report that I'm writing, wash, rinse, repeat. Because think about this winter. Every month had a snow event, had a cold event, and we were in a drought throughout the entire period as well. So wash, rinse, repeat. It wasn't one of those winters where you had a real warm month, a real cold month, one big snowstorm, and that's it. So maybe that's the theme. It was redundant.
Can I make a suggestion? What about wash, freeze, repeat?
That's a good idea.
Just saying. Yeah, I mean, we got a lot to talk about. We have the cold we had all winter long. We even had the cold in February. Some drought, or maybe a little bit improvement there. But let's just start with the elephant in the room, the snowstorm, the nor'easter that we had the last Sunday into Monday of February. By the way, Atlantic City International Airport tied the record after this nor'easter for the most snow on a Sunday since records started here. So it's tied 2004, 2005 with 19.6 inches of snow on a Sunday. But that wasn't the end of it. So we had our Sunday snow and then Monday here. I read a couple of articles. We texted a little bit about it. You have some thoughts about this storm and where its place in history is. We'll get to that part in a second. But just tell us about what we got with the storm. You put out your snow map on your website.
Yeah. I mean, it was a coastal hugger, as we've seen in the past. Not as pronounced as back on December 26th, 27th, 2010, where the coastal counties all the way up the Parkway got clobbered with 2.5 feet, and the Delaware Valley had 6 inches. This was a little more askew, but still every county in the state except Warren County had at least one observation of 10 inches or more snowfall. The biggest snows were primarily from Monmouth County, a little bit of interior, Ocean, Monmouth County, up into the extreme northeast, eastern Bergen County down through Hudson County and little eastern Essex County. So it was kind of an east-west event because the eastern region was closest to the low. So it got the most moisture out of it. And the low was far enough away that warm air didn't mix in, so it remained snow. Didn't go to sleet, didn't go to freezing rain or rain like the storm we had back in January.
I kind of explained it. This was almost like the opposite of that storm because the one in February it went from rain to snow, and that was pretty much it. But the last one, right, we went from snow to sleet, and then depending on where you were, freezing rain and rain. This was more of like, I don't know, maybe a little more typical in ways. I mean, usually we go from snow to rain, not so much rain to snow. But point is that this was a more typical kind of storm for us here, and but we didn't, right? Can we call this a blizzard or is it not a blizzard?
Yes and no. How about that for an evasive answer? Absolutely. First of all, a true blizzard criteria are 35 plus mile an hour winds. Now it could be gusts or average winds over a 3-hour or longer continuous period, and visibility under a quarter of a mile or less in falling snow or blowing snow. So those criteria were met at some of the airport stations For instance, up at Newark Airport. I don't know if Atlantic City quite made that. You would know
Didn't.
better than I. It didn't. And
No.
then just looking at the winds along the coast that gusted into the 50 plus mile an hour range. So you had your 3 continuous hours of wind and you had some heavy snow falling. The problem is we don't have visibility data at our weather stations or at our CoCoRa's observing stations. But I'm very confident that there were blizzard conditions hit at parts east of the Garden State Parkway and at some of the open areas further inland in the eastern part of the state, at least, like Newark Airport. So
Yeah.
not an historic classic blizzard for the state as some of the media was putting out,
Not
but
us.
still an impactful and impressive storm. And blizzard doesn't include coastal impacts, but we didn't get excessive coastal flooding out of this. We had some minor coastal flooding.
Yeah, I was going to
So,
talk about that. We really lucked out with this because,
yeah.
forecasts, even myself, I did think we were going to get to moderate stage, which is when you really it becomes almost impossible to drive around the Bayside towns, during high tide here. But we got lucky because winds were coming out of the north, I think about 3 hours before high tide. So that was an offshore wind, which helped to push some of that water out. So we ended up with nuisance or that typical kind of flood, typical. We see it a couple dozen times a year. So we really, we lucked out there because, with the heavy snow on the ground and the flooding, it kind of creates issues, it always creates issues. The winds, though, I think I texted this to you. So ACY, while they did not get blizzard criteria, they had a wind gust of 61 miles an hour. Did we talk about this?
No, I don't
No?
remember
Okay.
the
So
61.
shout out to the National Weather Service in Mount Holly. I asked the question and they answered. And they said they can't say definitively, but this was probably the highest wind gust in a snow event at ACY's airport going back to 1978. So while it did not get a blizzard, it was gusting at 61 miles an hour for a period of time with snow, and they believe that is the highest gust in snow since 1978 at the airport. It's one location. It's a brief moment in time, but just something interesting.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
mean, there wouldn't be many other candidates. Maybe in 96, the blizzard in 96. One other thing about the storm I found really, really interesting compared to the January storm. We think of the atmosphere as a layer cake. And the January storm, we had very cold air at the surface, and we had the turnover to sleet and freezing rain and rain because there was a layer 6,000 feet above the ground that slipped in above freezing.
yeah,
So you went from cold to warm, and then above that, cold. This storm produced its own cold air. It was very cold upstairs, and when the precip got heavy enough, it pulled the cold air down, and we all saw the rain go to snow. So it was kind of the inverse behavior in that respect as well for this storm. So two very interesting, impactful storms with
yeah,
very different conditions
yeah,
within them.
yeah. So just kind of any last thoughts on the nor'easter? Otherwise, I'm gonna push along.
I also have the storm totals from the 22nd and 23rd.
Yeah,
Long Branch was 15.00,
yep.
right along the coast. No, 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 no,
Well, you're
no, no.
right. Long Branch was 15.
I'm out. But I'm going high. I have high and low.
Okay.
Strathmore, Monmouth County, 26.5.
Okay. Yep.
Long Branch, 15.0.
Yep. Okay.
Ocean, Jackson, 25.2 tops. Point Pleasant Beach, 14.7 low.
Mhm.
Atlantic, Summers Point, 17.2 high. Margate, 11.4 low. Get the idea? A little closer to the coast, a
Yeah.
little lower.
Yep.
And Woodbine in Cape May, 18.0. Middle Township, 12.0.
12.0.
So,
Yep. And
story
that
about
lines up. That's all right.
anybody who listens to us know we overwhelm each other and you folks with numbers.
Yeah.
But
We're
you're
it's
listening
data
to us, so
overload.
you must enjoy this.
No, but yeah, and you know what? There was like kind of like it was a west of the Parkway storm. You got east of the Parkway. That's when you noticed a little bit of a drop off there. Also, I think because there was that I'm going to call it a mega band of snow that really set up into those higher totals. If you look at your map, that red area, that's kind of where that heavy band of snow set up. It really was like because I know, I'm in Monmouth County, but I'm more in that lower than the higher. But I did know when you got to the west, yeah, it was getting in the 20s, for those totals. So anyway, interesting storm. Definitely one we'll talk about for a little bit. But as you said, maybe it's not a historic storm, a good storm, not a historic storm. Let's talk about the snowpack, though. And I want to go two ways with this. One, the prolonged snowpack carried over from the January storm. All right, where are we with that? And then two, just kind of compare the melting of this snow than the last one, because everybody knows this snow has been like evaporating real quick. I shouldn't say evaporate. That's not the real word. That's not the real weather word. I know that. No. I know that. But it's melting real quick here. So I'll give you got about 3 minutes if you can tackle both.
We'll do it. We'll do it quick. Yeah, we had a long duration of snow cover after the first event for a couple reasons. One, it was brutally cold.
Yeah.
We didn't get above freezing for days after that event. Number two, in a lot of the state, it was topped by an inch or two of sleet. In some cases, enough freezing rain that kids, at least, and dogs could walk on top of the snowpack. So it was a very solid snowpack, a dense snowpack. But it was mostly the cold that just kept it into place. And remember, it was a month earlier, so the sun angle, solar radiation isn't as strong. This one was mostly pure snow once it turned over. It was less dense than the first event when you add in the ice that was in there. And then we got above freezing most every day after the storm for the last week, 8 days, 9 days. Didn't have much rain or it would have gone faster. And with that, you've got the sun angle up higher as well. So that was more normal for New Jersey.
Yeah.
They come and they go, they come and they go. This was one where we were locked in, like we were talking earlier before this, up in Albany or up in Burlington, Vermont, where it snows and the snow stays on the ground for weeks at a time, pretty commonly in the winter. Yeah. So that's what made this a memorable. And if you remember, between the two snowstorms, we barely had any precipitation.
Yeah.
It was a waste of cold air in some respects. So we had all that cold air and no precipitation.
Right.
But imagine our angst if we had had no snow and all that cold.
Oh, I know. There would have been some very unhappy snow lovers out there.
Did. Yeah. So very interesting. Not records for the longest duration of snow in the winter. At Atlantic City, there was continuous snow cover for 21 days, ending on the 14th of February. And that was the fourth longest streak since 1958. The longest was 26 days back in 2003 winter. And up in Long Branch, it was 27 consecutive days with an inch or more of snow cover. The eighth longest going back to 1907.
Yeah.
The record being 58, however.
I saw that. Do we really think that was a real record? Oh, yeah. That's a long time.
That was 1948, but late 47 had the big Boxing Day snowstorm.
Okay.
That gave one of the largest snowstorms on record up in Long Branch. It was the largest for the state.
Okay.
And it just hung on. I don't know. That's believable.
All right. That's believable. I was a little
These
skeptical.
Are tricky little things. I mean, I had snow on the ground 22 consecutive days in my house. I went to a trace the Saturday before the big storm last week, and then had 7 more days till I started calling it a trace 2 days ago. But it was that one day broke the streak.
Right. Yeah, I know. That was something we were like, I agree. Because I think if you live north of Interstate 195, you were probably all in that same boat where that day before is like, oh, it was going to turn. If only we had the storm one day earlier, we could have extended that streak in some parts. Anyway, let's take a break here. We're going to come back. We got plenty to talk about on the other side here with our monthly weather roundup.
Welcome to your Jersey Shore 24/7 live streaming weather channel. I'm meteorologist Joe Martucci. Our team at Cup of Joe Weather and Drone is covering the shore like nowhere else. And this live streaming weather channel is one more reason why. In the main player, get all of our weather and drone videos. On the left-hand side, see current radar, see our webcams across the Jersey Shore, and even giving you the ability to submit your photos to live on the live streaming channel. On the bottom, we have our tickers for weather and future weather conditions on both land and sea. And of course, all the ways to follow Cup of Joe Weather and Drone.
And we are back with our monthly weather roundup, our seasonal weather roundup, as we talk about the winter that was, and boy, was it. Let's continue with our February here. We'll start with that first. The temperatures. How cold was it really?
It was cold. It was cold. The coastal division, which is essentially east of the Parkway in National Weather Service parlance, came in at 31.0 for an average temp for the month. That's 5 degrees below normal. Now, before you think that's record shattering, when you go back 132 years of record, it was only the 34th coldest. But the 5 degrees below normal is compared to 1991 to 2020. So it would have been not as cold if you compared it back to the entire period of record, because we've gotten warmer in the winters by multiple degrees. So cold, I mean, that's the upper third. You're in the upper tercile, you're on the cold side, but no record breaking at all. And we'll see that when we talk about winter.
Yeah. And well, I just wanted to say something real quick. Yeah. We didn't have many daily records that were broken at our locations either. And that was same in January and the same in December. So just to feed into your point, but go ahead.
Yeah. It's just, it was cold. Don't get me wrong. And it's 4 months in a row with below normal temperatures, by the way, from November onward, which we haven't seen. I don't know how long we've seen it. We've seen 3 in a row. That was last winter, December, January, February. But 4, I haven't checked yet.
But correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't February kind of like seasonable?
Last year?
Yeah.
It was below, but it was below.
Oh, okay. All right, go ahead. Continue.
Consecutive months. But precip, 2.66 inches along the coast. That was the richest precipitation.
Yes.
Inland, it was like 1.6. That's 41 hundredths below normal, and the 56th driest. So right there in the middle. So not exceptionally dry, but just continues the pattern of dry. The only difference is that this winter it wasn't as intensely dry as we had, say, in the fall of 2024. It's just been persistently dry month after month after month. So that's a quick February.
February. Okay, but I know I said I need to be quick, but I do want to ask drought, right? How do we look going into March? I'm assuming this storm helped. Does a snowpack have anything to do with it? How do we look going into March?
Holding our own right now.
Okay.
But we haven't seen enough improvement yet to even consider removing the drought warning by the DEP. And on the U.S. Drought Monitor, little improvement down in Cape May and up the coast, going to one condition less in terms of drought. But up in the northwest part of the state, it got worse. It's in the third highest out of 4. So coastal areas are in better shape water-wise. Even the reservoir, the Manasquan Reservoir, is in better shape. North Jersey reservoirs are 50% roughly of capacity right now. They should be over 80 on their way up towards 90 as before the water consumption season, the summer comes in. So where a normal summer, you lose about 25% of the capacity of the reservoirs. If we start this summer at 50%, I don't even want to think about it. We need some precipitation soon, or we're going to have to go to a higher drought designation around the state, which the next would be an emergency, which the state has not seen since Well, early 2003, there was all of 2002 was in a drought emergency. It was lifted in early 2003. We don't
Okay.
want to get there. So
Yeah.
we need some production from Mother Nature
Okay.
in these next few months, or it's going to be a real worrisome situation come
Yep.
summer.
Well, we'll hope we'll have like a last May. Was it? It was May, right? Where we ended up being pretty wet, and that really pulled us out. So let's hope we can do that again. Um,
That
April
was the
showers,
seventh.
man. April showers.
Yeah.
I
That
hope.
was the seventh wettest May in over 130 years. That's how lucky we were last year. We were in
Yeah.
the throes of a drought warning at this time last year, and
Yep.
without May, we would have had an emergency last summer.
Yep.
Can
Yeah.
we pull it out? We've done this time and again, and why we haven't had an emergency since '02. It seems like we fall into these droughts and then bam, we come out of them. We go back into it. It's become much more inconsistent pattern. But now, with 19 of the last 22 months with below normal precipitation, that's way too persistent for my taste.
Yeah. Yeah, well, let's fingers crossed we're digging out of it. For sure. All right, let's get to the winter here. So a lot to unpack. I mean, cold and snowy. I mean, I think is it fair to call it a cold and snowy winter?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
unless you live in 80% of the other 80% of the country.
We'll get into that. But in New Jersey, it was a
Yeah,
cold
it
and
was.
snowy winter.
Yeah, it was cold and snowy. We're still putting together some numbers for temperature, but it's again, it's going to rank up there, yeah, in the top, in the upper third for cold, but nowhere near close to a top five or a top 10, given Jersey's warming. Again, very similar. February similar to January, which was similar to December. So that wash, freeze, and repeat.
Yeah.
We've seen all winter long. So dry, too dry, snowier than normal. I've got some
Snow stack.
preliminary snow season numbers for down the coast. I mean, there for the winter. We had nothing in November. If you remember, it came on in December. And up on Monmouth County, Red Banks had 46.9 inches of snow this winter.
It's nice.
Manchester Township, 42.2 down ocean. Hamilton Township in Atlantic, 29.4. And Woodbine in Cape May, 25.0. So they're all running 10 to 20 inches above normal for seasonal snowfall. Should be
Are-
about 15 in the south and maybe about 26 in the north, 26, 28. So a hefty winter.
So
I haven't been able to drag up the snowiest since. In central North Jersey, this is the snowiest winter since 2020, 2021. Other places, it might be winter of 17, 18,
yeah.
2017, 2018.
So
And then the South had that. What was it, 2022?
yeah, it was 21, 20. Wait. Yeah. Yeah, it was. Hold on. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
21, 22. Yes, 21. Yeah, because there was the there was the Expressway special, and then there was then there was that coastal storm that really only snowed in Monmouth Ocean, Atlantic Cape. I mean, Philly and
right.
Trent. That was the last weekend in January.
Yeah.
That was my favorite snowstorm being at the Jersey Shore. This one's a very close too, but I don't like the coastal flooding. That one didn't have any coastal flooding, so that was nice.
Yeah.
Is it possible that the shore is going to have the most snow in the state, or no?
No.
No. All right.
No,
I was getting a little
despite the fact that Northwest only had 6 to 10 inches out of this storm. Already I've looked at numbers. I've got so many numbers. If
all
you
the
looked at
numbers.
the yellow papers on my desk, you'd go crazy looking at things. But there's already, I've got, we don't have enough time to do this. Okay.
Yeah, we got a couple more minutes. We got another 5 minutes.
Winter. Vernon Township. We have a station up there that's had 64 inches.
Okay.
Mine Hill Township of Morris County, 58.5. Up in Rockaway in Morris, 50.5. So we've got a handful of stations that are over 50.
Okay.
So unless things get moving real quick in the next
Which
4
they're
weeks
not.
or so, we're going to be, but you know what? It's not that too shabby. I mean, 46.9 or 40, yeah, 46.9 at Red Bank. That's not that far
Bad.
behind. That's not
That,
that far behind.
no, it's not. We'll take it for the shore. That's, if you're a snow lover, it was a good winter to you. Let's just go back to the temperatures here. You said it's not a top five, and yeah, no, I know, of course. But how much of a what kind of gap are we talking about? Is it a big gap between a fifth place and where we are? And could you? I don't know. I'm gonna put you on the spot if you can, but what kind of temperatures were we talking in those top five coldest winters in terms of what did the day to days kind of look like? Were
Yeah,
they
I
just
don't know.
persistently cold? Were they up and down cold? Do you know? I just on the
There was a
spot.
lot of persistence to the cold, and I
Yeah,
would guess, I don't have a ranking anywhere,
that's all
but
right.
they were 5 to 10 degrees colder overall.
Than what we are
That
now, than what this winter was.
Yeah, than what this winter was. And it's just, it's just persistent cold, frequent incursions of cold air. And the fact is, the cold air was colder.
Right.
We
We were
had
setting
frequent,
records.
yeah, we had frequent incursions of cold air, but as you already said, we didn't have records. We just had to come back pretty frequently. It was this corridor from Alaska right down through central Canada to us. You go southwest of there, exceedingly mild. You go a lot northwest of there to Greenland and to
Yeah.
northeastern Canada, a very mild winter compared to normal. It was just that one setup. We kept feeding cold air, some of it coming over from the Arctic Ocean. Even western Siberia, the other side of the Bering Strait from Alaska, had a very mild winter. So it was just this one quarter, and that quarter's there right now. It's very cold in Alaska down into central Canada. And even to our north, it's been pretty cold of late, although it's not aimed in our direction. The last couple of days, it's been a little cold.
Yeah.
Um, but this is going to recede to the north now. And the blocking high pressure system over Greenland and northeast Canada that helped to feed the cold air down has gone away, and Greenland's having some of its coldest weather of the winter right now. So the
Right.
whole pattern has essentially started changing, and with that, the seasonal progression of warmth from the south is underway as well. So
Yeah.
next month we're going to be talking about backdoor cold fronts.
Oh, well, we're recording this on March 3rd. There might already be one this week.
Yeah.
It's not our season at the shore. I mean, we already saw, geez, what was it? Was it Sunday or Saturday? I can't remember, but the coast was 45, 46, and inland was 60. What day was that? I think it was
Sunday.
It was Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Those are
Last day of
coming.
the
More of those are coming.
No, it was Saturday. It was the last day of the month.
Was it Saturday?
The 28th of February was the warmest day of February across the state. It wasn't even close in some cases, and a couple stations got over 60.
Yeah, I know a couple, and that was well inland too. Again, the coast was.
Absolutely.
We're gonna see those. I already can visual. I have dreams about it. Harvey Cedars is 48 and Trenton's 72. I see it. I visualize it coming.
You got to be patient, you folks
Oh, you do.
listening along the coast. You really got to be patient. Your bonus comes this summer with your sea breezes, and next fall with your extended mild conditions before you get that first freeze. So you just have to be a little patient when you're along the coast.
Yeah. And hey, ocean temperatures too. Well, one with this has been cold on the colder side as well. I mean, water temps were 29, 30 degrees at points. We have since come up, but we are still on the cooler side. I don't know, anything to add with that or.
There was some speculation, and I've talked to an oceanography friend of mine who's got more oceanography than some of my rudimentary knowledge. And it's been cold closer to the coast, a little milder offshore when you get out towards the Gulf Stream. And the thinking was that this last low pressure system, the big snowstorm, may have set up a little further east than normal because the cold and the warm of the ocean waters was a little further off the coast meeting
I
up.
believe it. Yeah.
And that's why Providence got clobbered
Oh,
and
yeah.
Eastern Long Island had 80-mile-an-hour wind gusts. That maybe in a winter where it was a little milder ocean temperatures closer to the coast, that low might have come a little further west, which ultimately could have turned to rain along the coast and heavier
Yeah.
snow inland. You know, you don't get
Weather's
greedy.
interesting.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is. It really is. I would love to spend a winter in like Montauk or Cape Cod or like the coast of Maine or Nova Scotia. Like, oh, Nova Scotia would be fun. That would be a fun winter. Then I got to
No.
come back. Once it's St. Patrick's Day, I'm coming back, but I can't stay there much longer. All right. We did it. I think we got it within a half hour. I'll see what happens if we edit it. I think we're going to be there. Tell us where we can find more about all the work that you're doing at the State Climate Office.
Yeah, njclimate.org to get the background information, and you can look up data on all the storms this winter. Look to the top right of the page, and you can see where you can look at maps and tabular totals from all those snows this winter. And then njweather.org to stay on top of the latest weather information. So,
Yep.
In a couple of months, we're working on a new website that's going to combine everything. So stay tuned for that. A little tease. We're not there yet, but we have a lot of new bells and whistles already under development to introduce to everyone in the come the middle of this year.
Okay. Well, keep listening to the monthly weather roundup. We'll have more on that. So, all right. For Dave Robinson, I'm Joe Martucci. We'll be back with you next month here, recapping the month of March, which will definitely be warmer than February. That is for sure. We'll talk to you soon, everybody. Take care.